welcome to La Vida Las Vegas podcast. We're two physical therapists living the life in Las Vegas. I'm Dr. Erica.
And I'm Dr. Joe. We created this podcast for two reasons. First, to connect the healthcare, wellness, and fitness communities in Las Vegas. And second, to highlight all the amazing people we've met along the way.
Thank you for listening, and remember to take care of yourself.
Mark was born and raised in Las Vegas. He graduated from Dixie State University, where he played baseball and earned a degree in Interdisciplinary Studies. Mark is currently coaching youth baseball at the Las Vegas Baseball Academy. He will begin physical therapy school in a few months and plans to educate the youth throughout his career.
Thanks, Mark, for coming on to La Vida Las Vegas podcast. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Mark Marinch. I am a baseball coach here in Las Vegas. I coach for Las Vegas Baseball Academy, club baseball. I just opened a personal training gym, movement and mobility, some stuff you guys are very familiar with. And then I will be starting PT school here very soon.
Congratulations. That's so exciting.
Thank you.
PT school. Getting into PT school is one, difficult, but number two, getting in is also like the next step of that. So I think that's awesome, and congratulations on your achievement.
So, as far as what brought your interest up in baseball, how'd you get started with baseball?
I've been playing since I was like 5. That was it. I was better at baseball than I was at other sports, and I just enjoyed it more. And then played throughout high school. I played other sports in high school too. I tried to. I played basketball, but I wasn't very coordinated. And then played baseball throughout college, and then had a couple injuries, a couple setbacks. Now it led me into coaching, and then that kind of seeing the injuries in all my players, combined with all the injuries I had, has led me to PT now.
So did you actually receive treatment previous then for the injuries that you had?
I did, yeah. I received treatment on my elbow and shoulder my elbow in college, shoulder in high school, and then my hip and knee after.
So being a patient and then starting to do your own research on actual treatment, like how does that compare?
It's hard. It's hard to create the perfect treatment plan. I think that's where I'm at in the assessments I'm doing with the people I'm with. I feel like there's so many things I want to do that I think can help, but it's hard for me right now just to pick out the perfect route or the best route or the need to pick a perfect route. So I definitely appreciate the people who worked with me more because of that. And then I'm trying to think. As a patient,
it might be hard to remember too, because
I've
been to PT multiple times as before I went to school and everything, and couldn't really tell you much about it. Like I could tell you, I know that they gave me some lat pull downs. I think when I hurt my back, that might have been a thing.
Yeah, I remember I had elbow pain in high school, and when I went to a chiropractor and they did scraping on my shoulder and my clavicle. That was where all my treatment was because they said it was really tight. So that was kind of the first time I realized that you can experience pain in one part of your body that is not that's stemming from another part of your body. And I kind of forgot about that. And then now, with all the stuff I'm doing now, I really see how important every part of the body works together as a system to prevent and optimize performance. But then as a patient on my hip, there's a lot of things I did as a patient that I think I would do differently now trying to treat people if they had the same problem.
What would you do different?
I did a lot of banded workouts with the little bands, little side steps, monster walks, hamstring curls, leg extension, stuff like that. And I would do more actual joint mobilization, making sure the joint can move within the capsule. I would do a lot of voodoo flossing. That makes me feel so good. I would make everybody in the world do a voodoo floss. Maybe not everybody, but definitely a lot of people.
We can click a link to the show notes about the Voodoo Bands, because if you haven't tried a Voodoo Band, Mark can tell you from experience, it's awesome. Awesome in many ways than just terrible.
Yeah, it's called Voodoo for a reason.
Yeah. I use it probably like 4 times a day. Not 4 times a day, on 4 different body parts a day. When I'm working out, warming up, cooling down. It's amazing.
It's good stuff.
So you're from Vegas originally.
Yes.
What was it like growing up in Vegas?
It was hot. It was really hot. It was nice. It was a lot smaller than it is now. There were no Knights. There were no Raiders. This city ended pretty much where I lived growing up. And then now there's way more houses outside in Summerlin. There's way more houses all over town. So it was nice, though. I think I really love about Vegas how everything is close and convenient. And it's a very accessible town if you're looking for food late at night or you want to do something. There's pretty much something to do all the time.
What about for your 21st birthday? What'd you do for that?
I was in Utah. I was in Utah for my 21st birthday. We had a game. It was a Friday night, and we had a game on Saturday. So my parents came up in town, and we had like a little cake, and that was it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you have a Utah beer?
No, I did not have a Utah beer that night. I've had plenty of Utah beers, but definitely not that night.
Well, the Utah beer is what, 3% or something
I think
like
it's
alcohol,
3%.
right?
It's like
that's-
water.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're a craft beer drinker, it is not the place to be. Are you guys craft beer drinkers?
I used to be more so previous than now. I've kind of switched over to more red wine type things if I'm drinking something. And then coffee. Coffee would be probably the one thing I wouldn't be able to give up.
Mm.
Yeah, in college, I used to drink a lot of IPAs. And now I just,
I can't
for
do
some
the
reason,
IPAs.
for some reason, it's definitely a shift for me. But how about you? What's your favorite beer?
Heineken.
Heineken,
Yeah.
very nice. And then how about a craft beer if you go secondarily to that?
I couldn't even tell you a craft
No?
beer. No, I had a beer in Canada. It was called Race Rocks. It's in Victoria, British Columbia, and it's it's made in a brewery there. And that was my favorite beer ever. It was an amber ale mixed with coffee.
Oh,
Yeah, really good. If you can make it up there, definitely check it out.
It's interesting. I feel like a lot of, like over the last, 10, 15 years, there's been a ton of independent breweries popping up everywhere. But now you're starting to see that with coffee. So coffee's becoming this thing where there's all these people that have their independent roasters are becoming a much bigger thing. I don't know if you've noticed that as well.
No, I haven't. I thought about trying to roast my own coffee in my backyard, but it's a lot of work.
That's hot. I could probably do that
It's a
pretty
ton of
easily.
work.
Yeah. So what do you like to do to spend your time in Vegas when you're not playing baseball?
I was talking to my friends this morning about that. I'm like, well, you like to mobilize and you like to talk about mobility and watch videos on mobility and tell us how to get better at our mobility. And I was like, God, is that really all I do right now? So I've been on that train for the past couple months because of the pandemic. But I do like to go out to Red Rock a lot. There's a lot of good hiking stuff to do out here. I used to go downtown a little bit. I like Fremont more than the Strip because I'm not quite that affluent yet. And there's a lot of good vegan places popping up, so I like to try those out. And that's about it. I spend a lot of my time at home cooking and working out and working on this business right now, and I've been studying a lot, so I don't really do much here.
what's your favorite go-to meal to cook or your specialty for cooking?
Spaghetti.
Spaghetti?
Yeah, spaghetti.
Like
Definitely.
red sauce or just...
So it's a marinara sauce, yeah.
Okay.
But with a little bit of chili flakes. You've got to put the chili flakes in there. But I've been vegan for a year, so I do a lot of recreation of meals. Like I make a ChickfilA sandwich. That's vegan.
Huh.
It's very good. Hamburgers. You can pretty much make anything vegan.
So
that you can.
Tell us about that Chick-fil-A recreation.
It's very intensive. It takes a very long time. It's made with seitan, and so you have to make a wet portion and a dry portion, and then you mix all of the wet ingredients together, and that's where you put all the spices that make it taste like chicken. It's like rosemary, thyme, sage. I think sage is like the main chicken tasting herb.
Mm-hmm.
You mix that up. You form a really big dough out of it. You have to knead it for a long time to make it firm. That way it doesn't come out to a spongy chicken sandwich. Cook those in a broth. Take them out, and you fry them like a regular chicken sandwich.
That does sound labor intensive.
It's very intensive. Yeah, you have to make a lot, and then you eat like these doughy Chick-fil-A sandwiches for, like 3 days. And you're sick of it, and then like 4 months later, it's like, it sounds good again.
Yeah, I think that's how we do it too. Is like sometimes your meal prep goes in cycles. You get used to making one thing, and then you cook it. And I don't think so. The last time when we did with that huge pork thing that we cooked, we ate it for like a week or two, and then you get sick of it. And I don't think we've made it since. That was probably like 3 years ago.
Wow.
So,
well, there was like a thing on sale. It was like, I forget, it was a ridiculously cheap price for like a pork butt or whatever. And I don't think Joe's like, never again are we going to eat that pork roast.
Did you get it at Walmart?
We got it at Smith's. And I think it was just like one of those, specials that you get. And it's like 99 cents a pound or something.
Suspiciously cheap for me.
I was like, this is insane.
Yeah, when I did eat meat, I would never get it at Walmart.
Yeah, noted. So having asked about the food, what's your favorite cheat meal?
I've been doing ice cream a lot lately. There's oat milk ice cream, and you put peanut butter in it, a little bit of chocolate syrup and sprinkles. Oh my god, it's amazing.
Let's talk about oat milk a little bit. Do you drink it, or is it mostly just like the ice cream?
I should be sponsored by Planet Oat Milk. If you go in my fridge in my garage, there's about, at any time, there's 4 to 6 cartons in there on top of the 2 inside. We use it for protein shakes a lot and drink a lot of protein shakes. So, but the ice cream's really good too. It doesn't taste any different.
Noted. We have to check that out.
I'll have to get you guys some Planet Oat Milk.
I'll try it.
I've never tried it before.
Yeah, we'll have to get you guys some Planet Oat Milk and maybe a different cup to drink it out of. 2 cups.
Yeah, and if you can make that Chick-fil-A sandwich, I'll try it too.
Absolutely.
I'm
With
from
pickles?
Georgia, so Chick-fil-A was like a staple for us.
Okay.
You'll compare one versus the other. So we'll bring one over and be like, all right, which one is which? Like a blind taste test, if you will.
You'll be able to taste the difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't taste as rubbery. Like I think meat has a very rubbery taste now. We also make Chick-fil-A sauce and ranch, so you can compare those.
Have you learned how to make the Chick-fil-A milkshakes yet, using oat milk? Because their milkshakes are phenomenal.
Yeah, no, I have not. That's probably the next step. Now, I wanted to open a food truck about a year ago. That was like my big thing because at the baseball games, there's, these kids who eat hot dogs and hamburgers and candy and soda in between games. I was like, this is terrible for them, but 2, for their performance. So I wanted to open a food truck where I would serve them healthy vegan food in between after games. But it's just insanely hard here to open a food truck, and not to open one, but for that specific type of thing where I wanted to sell it at sporting events. You can't go anywhere where there's a concession stand already. And for baseball tournaments, there's only so many fields where there's a lot of tournaments going on and they all have concession stands. So it was kind of tough.
That's good to know. It's always interesting to see like the different like zoning laws in different states or cities for that matter.
Yeah, and there's three different zones you had to go through too: Henderson, Clark County, and Boulder. So
good stuff.
So as far as the things that you're getting into now, how did you get started with this new relearning of mobility and the things you were talking about earlier?
So at the beginning of the pandemic, I started working out in my garage with my brother, and I was like, you know what, I'm sick of having this cranky old 50-year-old man hip. So I started doing a lot of different stretches and foam rolling and the pails and rails, the
FRC.
Yeah, like the 90s and stuff like that to work on my hips. And so I was doing that for about 3.5 months, and I didn't really feel anything, or I didn't really improve in terms of my the weight I could lift on deadlifts. I couldn't really squat at all at that time. And then I came across a video of Kelly Starrett, my new hero, who I talk about every single day. Ask any of my friends, they'll tell you how much I talk about him. And he was talking about rowing. And the way he was describing how your spine works throughout the actual movement of rowing, it was like mesmerizing. So then I got into more of his stuff and started doing his virtual mobility coach. And my hip and my knee feel insanely better. And that was probably in about June. And then from then I was like, I need to get everybody to do this. Like everybody should be doing this stuff. So
We feel the same way.
yeah.
It's weird. It's like you find that as the thing that works, and then it piques your interest, and then you're like, I need to know more about this, because obviously, like the things I was doing before that I spent 3 months on made no change, or the change was so slight. So the same thing, at least for us, like we both were previous coaches, and then people come up to you, or they would come up and be like, "Hey, I'm hurt. I'm in the gym." I'm like, "Well, I'm just a coach. I don't really know anything about that." But then they still expect an answer, or at least like some kind of stretch or something that they want you to give them. So I think that a lot of people kind of discover it through necessity of the other things are not working, and then you just Google it like anyone else. But then on YouTube, we found a lot of Kelly's stuff on there, and definitely enjoyed it. So thanks, Kelly, if you're listening.
Yeah, seriously. The thing about YouTube, though, is there's so many other things, too, that, I mean, it's not like I just started trying to fix myself in May. Like, I've been doing this for like 4 years. I went to PT for it, too. And there's just so much stuff. There's so much content out there. It's hard to filter through and find the stuff that is good. So
yeah, then you also have to find sources to trust to be your information filter. So you want, like, it went from what was it, the age of technology? They said the age of information. Now it's the age of context, because there's so much an abundance of information out now that it's really getting hard for consumers to make intelligent decisions on stuff. Like, so now if you have a problem, you don't even know who to go to first anymore, because there's so many different options now. So that's actually part of the reason why we're doing this, is we're trying to highlight different types of people or professions, and hopefully give people a little bit better answers for things.
I feel that in other parts of life too. You know, whether it's like a tax question or like a financial planner question, or life question. It's like, all right, who do I ask for this? Because sometimes I'm just like, ask my mom, and then my mom's like, I don't know. And that's her response. I'm like, all right, well, I have to figure this question out. Who do I ask to give me the resource, or that give me the answer that I need? And it's actually pretty tough, because there's so many different specialties that people are like, all right, you gotta go see. Like if you're looking at property, you're like, oh, I gotta get a real estate, or I gotta get a lawyer. I have to ask these people to answer these questions for you. But that's kind of the importance of an expert, right? You have to make sure that those people are providing you the answers that you don't know, right? And that's why knowing an expert or talking to an expert is important, because that's what they do for a living. And then sometimes, like, we talk about this because we really enjoyed, learning from other people in different professions and different, industries. So that's why it's like so important to be like, all right, that's what you do. I'm like, oh, okay, now I understand that. Next time I have a question, I'm going to ask you.
yeah, there's a lot of people who are very charismatic on the internet, who can build a big following, or can either market it the right way. And then when you go to type in, what is a tax write-off? Well, it's like, well, this guy's YouTube video pops up, but he might not even be an expert in it. And I found myself in everything I do end up just eventually finding the expert and going with them. So
I feel like the internet's created a lot of like self-proclaimed experts on things. And now even a regular person will have maybe just enough information to be dangerous on things. They're like, they know just enough that they might hurt themselves.
So let's talk about your baseball career a little bit. So you went to Dixie State, correct? And you played baseball there. What position did you play, and what was it like being a student athlete, baseball
so
player?
I was a pitcher. And being a student athlete it was probably different for me than a couple of my teammates. I took school very seriously. I don't know why, I just always wanted to do really well in it. So I spent a lot of time studying. There were many, many days where I spent in the library, many nights in the library after practice, many mornings studying before we would do stuff. So it was hard to balance the time between weights and practice and trying to actually do well in school. Like, I didn't want to just pass my classes. I wanted to, I always knew I wanted to do something in the health field. I thought I wanted to go to medical school. So I tried to get the best GPA I could, and it probably put a little more stress on me than I needed as I moved through school. But it was great. Dixie was great. I loved it there.
Now going through like kind of that student athlete life, because you had all the training that you have to do, like weights, practice, games, and all that stuff. How was that as an athlete going through that process, and now looking at it as a coach? Like, what things would you have kept the same? Which things would you have done differently?
It was great. We had really good trainers at Dixie. Our strength and conditioning coaches were amazing, and we also had our athletic trainer, Kaz Sakita. He was amazing. He took my elbow from like death to amazing. So they were really good in terms of programming our throwing, programming all the rehab work we had to do. I would do, one thing I think now that I've learned is really important is actually having full mobility of your shoulder joint, of the shoulder capsule. And I would program more stuff into the training. More overhead shoulder work, more pull-ups, more actual mobilizations to get the shoulder moving. Because we did like the light external rotation stuff in our rehab, but not enough, I think, in terms of making sure the shoulder can move the way it should. So that's kind of what I'm trying to program too for my kids that I coach now.
As a pitcher, how often were you throwing and competing in games, and what's kind of the timeline there?
So you throw 5 to 6 days a week. Sometimes you take 2 days off, and then it depends if you're a starter or a reliever. Starting pitchers they'll have their one day that they throw, and they'll throw basically as many pitches as they can, as well as they do, and then you'll throw the next day, and you'll mix an off day in there somewhere, and then for all of the days building up to that start, you'll have varying intensity of how much you throw. One day you'll throw really far. One day you'll come in and throw a lot of throws on a line. One of those days you'll throw a bullpen where you're going through all your pitches off of a mound, and then you have a light throwing day. So for me, right now, what I'm trying to do is figure out the best way to program that kind of stuff for kids, especially because they play so much. But that's getting way off topic. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But yeah, there's a lot of throwing. You make a lot of throws in a year. You really don't take much time off, as you should. You throw for about 9 months out of the year, and yeah, that's about it.
So would you see a lot of overuse injuries with something like that?
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint that the injuries come exactly from overuse, because that's one thing I've learned too, is that a lot of injuries can come from improper mechanics when you're lifting, from not having full range of motion. So I think when you do couple those things with overuse, you will get a lot of injuries.
So what you mentioned just a moment ago is you want to make sure that the kids have longevity. So is there a difficulty finding that balance, especially with the parents when they want their kid to be a baseball star, but then you tell them, you have to grow and experience life as a kid as well?
Yeah, I think the difficulty in that comes from living in Las Vegas where the weather is perfect year round. There's a study by, I can't remember who it was by. Eric Cressy's talked about it a lot. The number of Tommy John surgeries that come out of, or just like the number of Tommy John surgeries in general, are way higher if you live in the West Coast compared to the East Coast. Because the East Coast, they shut down for winter. So they don't play baseball. They go play a different sport. And here you can play year-round. So there's way more throwing that you can do. So managing that, yeah, it's part of it is some parents want their kids to be superstars, and kids just love to play. They love to play if they can play year-round, they will. And if they're not going to play with us, they'll find another team where they can play year-round. So there's no shortage of teams or baseball to play out here. So it's just a matter of trying to figure out how to program in recovery stuff, how to make sure that we're managing how much they're throwing, how to make sure that they are getting the full range of motion in their joints, and also how to program in stuff that they would get in other sports. So like running and cutting is something that you really don't get in baseball. There's really not much jumping in baseball, but you would get that if you played basketball or football. So it's just a matter of when we're training and practicing to add some of that stuff in.
I think as a pitcher, you're in a unique situation too, because you start the play, right? As a pitcher, and there's a lot of pressure involved as well. So what is that like being a pitcher? Because it's specifically all eyes are on you. You have the selection of pitches that you choose, and obviously you have some guidance with the calls. But what is that like with as a reliever and one as a, what's this word again?
A starter?
Yeah, starter. A starter versus a reliever, right? So what is that like as a position in general?
So the pressure, I think the pressure changes based on which one you are, a starter reliever, because relievers can come into the game at many different times. Sometimes you'll come in when the game is not close, so you'll be either up by a lot or down by a lot, and the pressure is way less than if you come in and it's a one-run ball game and there's runners on base. But then also there's a lot of pressure on the starters to go out and do well and make sure you give your team a chance to win. So, either way, there's as much pressure as you allow there to be. And, the cool thing about pitching specifically is that every single pitch, it resets. And whether you threw a good pitch or a bad pitch on the last pitch, this next pitch is something new. It's a new moment, something new to focus on, and it completely changes from what you just did. So you can make an adjustment, or you can continue to either do well or as poorly as you were. And that's kind of fun to teach to kids. It's fun to see or to teach them how to manage their pressure, because kids have so much pressure from their parents. There's pressure that they think that coaches are putting on them, even though we just want them to have fun and do well. For some reason, they feel pressure from us, and they feel pressure when their teammates will say something. So teaching them how to manage that is fun when they actually get it.
Now, you notice as the kids that you coach as pitchers, does that translate to anything that you see later in life in terms of leadership or pressure, like in other situations? Is there anything that you see pitchers versus the rest of the team, or is it just kind of random?
I think it's kind of random. I haven't coached enough kids to see how they develop later in life yet. They're all still very, very young, but there's definitely a lot of things that from pitching that I took that helped me in life. I think the biggest one is just being able to stay in the present moment and not let any external things affect you. I think that's really big in coaching. It's really big in business. It's obviously very big in healthcare, being a service provider. I'm sure you guys experience that, especially if you have some patient coming in yelling about they don't want to pay the cash or whatever they're mad about that day. I'm sure that you guys have also experienced that too. So, yeah.
So what's something that you commonly see in your practice, but you wish more people knew?
So in coaching?
Sure. Or cooking, either way.
Oh, wow. So in cooking, I wish more people knew how easy it was to be vegan in cooking, for sure. And I wish more people would be vegan. I don't impose that at all on people, but I definitely love helping people try to switch and make the change. In coaching, I wish more people would stop doing long distance running, stop making your baseball players long distance run, care more about actual development and not just say they care about development. because I think there's a big difference. Because a lot of people will say they care about the development of the kids, but then they'll go out in the game and pitch a 9-year-old 110 pitches, and then bring them back to pitch the next game 40 pitches, or not the next game, the next day. So I wish people who coached would actually literally care about development and health and making sure the kids enjoy it more than just saying they do to get people to come play for them. So what's another thing that I wish people knew about coaching? There's definitely more. What's something you wish your people knew about PT?
That you can't always stretch or strengthen your way out of an issue, that you have to look at it intelligently and try to actually see what's going on, and don't think that one treatment's going to fix it. You know, if you are going to someone because your hip hurts, don't just be like, well, I'm going to go 2 sessions, and if I'm not, 70% better, then it's not working, because it might have taken a long time for you to get to that position, or, where it actually hurts. Like, things take time. Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the number one things I would tell our patients is, like, it's going to take a while, and you have to do it, and saying, well, I'm really busy at work. Well, your shoulder doesn't know that. So if you want it to be better, like, you have to find the time to do the things that are going to get better. So you can't, like, bargain with that, really.
Yeah, I have a lot of, when I do pitching lessons, if we have a tournament coming up, my lessons that week will be a lot higher than they were in the previous weeks before. So it's not like, it's almost like they want a quick fix, where it's like, no, the people who I work with who are doing very well have been coming consistently week over week over week, so we can make some, significant changes, because the kids are just so, they're very malleable. They need constant repetition, and I say the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and sometimes they still don't get it, and that's okay, because they're kids. I don't remember when I was 10 years old. So what we do is just make sure that we're ingraining these good movements, the good processes, and just making sure that you literally have to watch everything they do. And that's okay. So I think that's another thing I wish more coaches would know or do, is that, you might have to do the same thing over and over for 4 years. And that's okay. That's totally okay. Because the real development happens when they're 15, 16, 17, once they've hit puberty. Mm-hmm. Until then, it's just about making sure that they are healthy, have fun, and somewhat get an idea of what's going on. I still don't have an idea of what's going on. I'm 27.
So what's a coaching session like? So if someone were to come to you and I would take pitching lessons, what would it be like?
So it's changed over the years. It's evolved over the last 4 years, and I think I like where it's at now. It depends on what people want, and that's one thing that I've learned a lot, is that it's always about what this person wants when they're coming for me, and not what I think they want or need. I will help push them in that direction, but what they want is first. And usually people want to throw harder, throw more strikes, or learn how to throw pitches. When I ask kids what they want to do, I don't know, I'm here for pitching. So then I kind of just take them through. I'll take them through the squat warm-up. Kelly Starrett, thank you for that. The squat hip opener warm-up. I have all of my kids doing that, and also the shoulder spin-up. And a lot of them don't understand it or don't know what's going on, but just take them through it, make sure that they are doing it. We'll play catch. If they want to work on some off-speed pitches like a changeup or a curveball, we play a lot of catch with that before we go into the mound. If it's the first time I've ever worked with you, I'll take a lot of video and see what you're good at, what you need to work on, and then we'll do a bunch of drills. And the drills I do, they're mostly for your legs, making sure that they know how to use your legs. In pitching, there's a very common saying, use your legs more, but a lot of kids don't understand what that means. And in baseball, you can use your right leg, you can use your left leg, and you can use your hips, which connect them. And the pitchers at the highest level who do it the best use all three of them in a very efficient fashion. So it's about identifying which one this kid does well, which one they can do better, and then building it up from there. So we'll do drills, and then we'll go to the mound and throw off the mound. And we'll do all that in about 30 minutes.
It's a thorough warm-up. I hear that's a lot of good stuff. So as a pitching coach and, as a pitcher yourself, does it change how you bat or hit as well? It's like so you're on the receiving end now. How does that help you as a pitcher in general to hit?
I stopped hitting when I was in, I guess I hit my senior year of high school, but I didn't hit in college. You're either a position player or you're a hitter. And that's actually something I also wish would change, just kind of a sidetrack. I wish more coaches would let kids play different positions, and even if they're not the best kid at shortstop, let them play that position. Let them get a feel for all these different things going on in the baseball field, instead of pigeonholing some players into one position at a young age. But back to the question on if being a pitcher changes how you hit, I don't know. I wasn't a very good hitter, so it didn't help me be a hitter. I will say that the harder you throw, the easier it is at least to catch it. It doesn't seem as hard as you also start to throw harder. But then you get people who throw like really, really hard, like a lot of guys in the pros right now, and I would not want to catch that. So, yeah, I don't think it helps at all.
So what's something that you've been working on professionally, personally, physically, mentally, anything really that you're excited about?
Ooh, so much stuff. Let's see here. I've been working on reading more. I will do this thing where I get like 4 books. I'll go to the bookstore. I'll be like, I want to read this book, this one, that one. And then they end up on my bookshelf next to the other books I never finished reading or got halfway through because I never made the time for it. So now I'm just trying to take 10 minutes in the morning right away and just get a couple pages in. That and there's so many things.
How about a unique skill or something that you're working on that people wouldn't expect?
A unique skill.
Or self-development item.
I meditate a lot. I use, what's the app? Headspace. I use Headspace and meditate most every morning, which is great. It's great for, I would suggest everyone meditate, everyone go vegan, and everyone mobilize. That would be my suggestion. What about you guys? Do you guys have any hidden skills that you're keeping?
Video editing, we've had to learn that to do this.
Nice.
So that's one thing.
Nice.
I think honestly learning a lot of computer stuff, and I would have never done social media if we hadn't have done our own business type thing. I would have been perfectly fine never having Facebook or any of those other things. I didn't have them before. Then you realize how crucial some of that stuff is nowadays. It's crazy. Like people think you don't exist now if you're not on there.
Mm-hmm.
Like they use that as a form of like legitimacy.
Any hidden skills that you're working on?
I'd say I give that appreciation for people who do audiovisual and just entertainment in general, right? We don't really see what goes behind, all the things that, movies do and how many people are involved in making those videos or, audio projects. And I think it's amazing because I just now have a much more appreciation for those things that look awesome and they capture your attention. I think that's some people's jobs are just to do one thing, like just music. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's all they do. And then that becomes only a small portion of the movie or the video or whatever it is. But
and then they just get their name on a very quickly rolled credit at the very end of it.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I mean, you could see how many people are involved by how long their credits are for movies now. I mean, the credits will go on for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It feels like so. It's amazing like how much stuff goes into every little thing. And then when you try and do all that stuff yourself, especially poorly, then you realize like what level of skill other people have. And I'm also amazed at how quickly kids are picking up on it. Like kids can like film videos on their phone and do things that would take me like a week to learn that, and then they just do it intuitively. It's impressive.
So Mark, how can people find you?
You guys can find me on Vegas Strength and Mobility on Instagram. That's the little personal training gym I've got going. I tried making a Facebook so I could join a couple of Facebook groups, and I couldn't do that. I tried making it last night, and like I said, I'm locked out for some reason. So I'm going to continue that. But when I do, you can find me on Mark Marinch on Facebook, and Vegas Strength and Mobility will also be on Facebook someday soon.
Keep your eyes out for that.
Well, we really appreciate you working with the kids and doing the things that you're doing. I think it's great. I think it's great that you strive for knowledge so much and that you're able to apply that into your coaching and into your future practice. I think that's awesome. It's really good to see somebody that's trying to do self-development and be a lifelong learner. So outstanding.
Thank you, guys.
We'd like to thank you for listening to La Vida Las Vegas podcast. We hope you enjoyed the time with our guests as much as we did. It would help us out so much if you could share, subscribe, or review our podcast or any combination of the three. Thanks again, and remember to take care of yourself.